Okay, so good morning everyone. So my assigned topic is all about assessment in teaching. By the way, before I forgot, I am Shala Sabiru Galanay from BS Ed English 4B. So we all know that assessment in teaching is a critical component of the educational journey. So it also plays a vital role in shaping learning outcomes, guiding instructions, and measuring students' progress. So in this presentation, we will delve into the significance of assessment in education and explore various assessment methods and best practices to help educators effectively evaluate and enhance student learning. So our journey into the world of assessment in teaching begins now. So what is assessment? So assessment in education refers to the systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and interpreting information about students' knowledge, skills, and abilities. It also encompasses a range of activities and methods that help educators evaluate and measure what students have learned and their level of mastery in various subjects and areas. And now let's tackle the types of assessment. So first is the formative assessment. So informative assessments are conducted throughout the learning process and are designed to provide ongoing feedback to both students and instructors. They help identify areas where students may need additional support and allow teachers to adjust their instructions accordingly. So for example, a formative assessment is include like quizzes, class discussions, exit tickets, and observation. So that is a formative assessment. Now let's tackle the second type of assessment, which is the summative assessment. So in summative assessment are generally administered at the end of teaching unit or course to evaluate students' overall knowledge and skills. So these assessments provide a summary of what students have learned and achieved. So for example of summative assessment is include the final examination, the projects, the presentations, and the standardized tests. Now, let's tackle the third type of assessment, which is the diagnostic assessment rather. So, in diagnostic assessment are used to identify the student's prior knowledge, the skills, the strengths, and the areas of improvement before instructions begins. So they help teachers to understand the needs and the readiness of the individual students or the whole class to effectively plan their teaching strategies. So in diagnostic assessment can take the form of pre-tests, assessment of prerequisite skills, or let's just say interviews. And now let's tackle the four types of assessment, which is the performance assessment. So in performance assessment, it measures the student's ability to apply their knowledge and the skills to real life tasks or scenarios. So these assessments often involve like projects, portfolios, presentation, and simulations. So in performance assessment, it focuses on assessing problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, and application of the concept rather than just memorization rather. So the last type of assessment is the authentic assessment. So the authentic assessment focuses on real-world context and tasks that relate to students' interests and experiences. So these assessments often mimic authentic situation where students need to apply their knowledge and skills. So example here is includes the case studies, the field work, the role playing, and the simulations. Okay, so now let's explore the common assessment methods. So we have here five. So first is the multiple choice questions. So widely used in testing knowledge and comprehension. efficient for assessing a large amount of content quickly, and typically have a single correct answer and several distractions. So second is the essays. So we all know that provides students with an opportunity for in-depth expression of ideas, assess critical thinking, writing skills, and the ability to synthesize information. It also requires well-defined grading criteria and may be more time-consuming to assess. Third is the oral exams. So it evaluates students' verbal communication and comprehension skills. It also encourages critical thinking and the ability to articulate thoughts and common in language courses and certain qualitative discipline. So fourth is the project. So it emphasizes the application of the knowledge to the real world situation, foster creativity and teamwork, and often used to assess practical skills in fields like engineering, art, or design. Last is the portfolios. So it is a collection of a student's work over time, showcase a student's growth and achievements, and it encourage self-reflection and goal setting. So each assessment method serves a specific purpose and can be selected based on the learning objectives and the skills or knowledge to be evaluated. So the choice of assessment method should align with the desired outcomes of the educational experience. And now let's discuss the key consideration when designing assessment. So first is alignment with learning objectives. So assessment should be closely aligned with the stated learning objectives or outcomes. It must be clear alignment ensures that assessments measure what was intended to be learned. And alignment guides both instruction and assessment, fostering meaningful learning experiences. So second is the validity and reliability. So validity is the extent to which an assessment measures what is supposed to measure. It assesses the accuracy of the result. So assessments should have content validity, like covering relevant content, and construct validity, which is measuring the intended construct. So criterion validity compares the assessment to a gold standard, while predictive validity assesses the ability to predict future performance. So in reliability, the consistency and stability of assessments result. So let's just say reliable assessment produce consistent result when administered multiple times. To ensure reliability, assessors should be well trained, of course, and the assessment process should be standardized. And third is the fairness and equity. So assessment must be fair and unbiased. So providing an equal opportunity for all students to demonstrate their knowledge and skills. Avoid cultural, gender, or socioeconomic biases that may be disadvantage the specific groups, and accommodation for students with disabilities are essential to ensure equitable assessment. So in summary, assessment design should prioritize alignment with learning objectives and ensure validity and reliability, and also promote fairness and equity to create a meaningful evaluation process. So these considerations enhance the accuracy and value of assessment in educational contexts. And now let's tackle the challenges in assessment. So in number one, bias in assessment. So when we say bias in assessment, it refers to the presence of unfair advantage or disadvantage based on factor like race, gender, socioeconomic status, or cultural background. So challenges in bias can lead to inaccurate results, hindering equitable assessment, and it also affect both test content and the assessment process. So second is the high stakes testing. So high stake testing refers to assessments with significant consequences such as standardized tests that determine educational opportunities, graduations, or employment. So the challenges in high stakes testing is the pressure of high stakes testing can lead to teaching to the test, narrowing the curriculum, and increasing stress among students. So third is the diverse learners. So when we say diverse learners, it encompasses students with varying abilities, backgrounds, or learning styles and needs. So the challenges here is designing assessment that accommodate diverse learners can be complex, as one size fits all approach may not be suitable. Okay, for the continuation, let's tackle the assessment best practices. So offer tips for effective assessment practices. So use a variety of assessment methods. So there are lots of variety of assessment methods that we can use. First, we can use the diverse assessment tools, the match learning objectives, and cater to different learning styles. So align assessment with learning goals. So in aligning assessment with learning goals, we can use the clear learning objectives, the assessment criteria, or measuring what matters. And third is provide timely and constructive feedback. So we can provide a prompt feedback, which is deliver feedback in a timely manner to allow students to learn from their mistakes and improvements. Second is the constructive critique. Focus on providing constructive feedback that highlights trends and suggests areas for improvement, and engage in a dialogue, which is encourage a two-way communication and feedback process. It allows students to ask questions and seek clarification. And now let's tackle the importance of clear rubrics for assessment. So what is a rubric? So a rubric is a scoring tool that outlines specific criteria and expectations for an assignment or assessment. So clarity and consistency. Of course, clear rubrics provide a transparent framework for both students and assessors. So they define expectations, making assessment criteria explicit. So objective evaluation. Rubrics promote fair and objective evaluation as they guide assessors in consistently applying criteria. So this reduces subjectivity and potential biases. So feedback enhancement. Rubrics enable to constructive feedback by pinpointing areas of strength and areas for improvement. So this feedback is valuable for students' growth, of course. And lastly, improving learning. So when students understand how they will assess, they can better focus their efforts on meeting the criteria and enhancing their learning. So in grading and feedback, critical to assessment. So grading assigns a numerical or letter grade to students' performance based on the assessment criteria. So it provides a summary of a student's achievement in a particular assessment. Grading also should be consistent, fair, and clearly communicated to students' feedback. So feedback is an essential part of assessment as it helps students understand their strengths and weaknesses. It should be specific, constructive, and actionable. It is effective feedback supports students' learning by guiding them toward improvement. So the feedback grading balance, it's important to maintain a balance between providing feedback and assigning grades. Overly focusing on grades can undermine the educational value of feedback, which is more focused in helping students learn and grow. And now let's proceed to the assessment in different educational levels. So as you can see, we have here the elementary school assessment, the secondary school assessment, and the higher education assessment. So first we will tackle, or should I say I will tackle, the elementary school assessment. So in elementary school assessment, it focuses on fundamental skills. So assessment in elementary schools primarily focus on fundamental skills such as reading, writing, and basic math. So formative assessment. So teachers often use formative assessment like quizzes, observation, and informal checks in to monitor students' progress. And also holistic evaluation. It is assessment may be more holistic, looking at a combination of skills rather than the specialized knowledge. And lastly, emphasis on skill development. So the emphasis is on building a strong foundation in core subjects and developing essential learning. Now let's tackle the secondary school assessment. So, specialization is in secondary school, students often encounter subject specific assessments related to their chosen courses. So, in summative assessment, formal summative assessments like exams and end of term projects become more common. So, preparation for higher education, assessments are designed to prepare students for higher education and future career paths. So, in secondary school assessment, the critical thinking students are assessed on their critical thinking, analysis, and problem solving abilities. Now, lastly, let's tackle the higher education assessment. So, diverse assessment methods. So, higher education uses a wide range of assessment methods, including essay, research papers, exams, presentations, and practical assessments. So, in complexity and depth, assessment are designed to be more complex and in-depth, often requiring synthesis of knowledge and independent research. So, in higher education assessment, they have the specialization. So, students specialize in specific fields, and assessments become highly specialized accordingly, of course. So, self-directed learning. So, there's an increased emphasis on directed learning and students taking responsibilities for their assignments. So, common thread or development of critical skills are at the levels. The development of critical skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, and communication is emphasized. So the assessment methods and focus may vary, but the underlying goal is to prepare students for their success in their educational journey and their future careers. So, understanding these differences in assessment approaches across educational levels is essential for educators to tailor their assessments to meet the developmental and learning needs of their students. So, for my conclusion, assessment in teaching is a vital component of educational process, shaping learning outcomes, guiding instruction, and measuring students' progress. So, effective assessment also practices should align with learning objectives, validity, and reliability, and promote fairness and equity. While employing diverse assessment methods, providing timely and constructive feedback, and using technology can enhance the assessment process. So, assessment vary across educational levels with a focus on fundamental skills in elementary school, subject specialization in secondary school, and a diverse specialized assessment in higher education. So, challenges in assessment, such as bias, high stake testing, and diverse learners, must be acknowledged and addressed to ensure equitable and meaningful assessment practices. In closing, it's crucial to reiterate the significance of assessment in teaching. So, is not just about assigning grades, it's about understanding and supporting student learning. So, it provides valuable insight into students' progress. It also helps educators to their instruction and empowers students to develop and demonstrate their knowledge and skills. So, effective assessment practices are at the heart of quality education, and they play a vital role in preparing students for success in their academic journey and their future careers. And that would be all. Thank you so much for listening. God bless everyone.